By 1943, Germany was under heavy pressure from Allied forces and Adolf Hitler was surrounded by detractors. High-ranking Nazi commanders and soldiers had the objective of assassinating the leader of the Third Reich in order to initiate the peace agreements that would put an end to the war. But killing Adolf Hitler was no easy task. It is estimated that he endured more than 40 assassination attempts throughout his tenure, emerging unscathed from all of them. But no plot was as close to ending the life of the Führer as the mythical Operation Valkyrie, where a group of German army officers managed to infiltrate a bomb in one of the confidential meetings of the highest leadership of Nazism, with Adolf Hitler as master of ceremonies. The leader of the operation, Colonel Klaus Schenk von Stauffenberg. The date, July 20, 1944. Stay with us, because in the next few minutes we're going to tell you all the details of an event that could have been crucial in changing the course of World War II. Count Klaus Schenk von Stauffenberg was from a noble Catholic family. Already well into his military career and with Hitler in power, he was part of the campaigns in France and Poland, thus achieving certain decorations and being seen favorably by the elite of the Third Reich. With the official title of Lieutenant Colonel, he was sent to a mission in Afrika Korps, in the north of the African continent. At the beginning of the year 1943, his vehicle suffered an attack by a British fighter bomber and the course of his life took a 180-degree turn. Von Stauffenberg lost part of his right arm, 2 fingers of his left hand and his left eye. He was no longer able to fight or wield a weapon. However, he decided to remain active, exercising bureaucratic functions under the command of General Friedrich Albrecht, a conspirator and covert opponent. The reasons that led Stauffenberg, and at least 200 other participants, to attack their own leader were mainly military and political. Following a catastrophic defeat of German power in North Africa and at Stalingrad, Hitler's war strategy was called into question. Germany was losing ground and some leaders saw the Führer as a danger, an imminent threat that would blow up the entire country. Stauffenberg was sure that the only way out was to definitively eliminate the president and forge, in his own words, a German-style democracy, where an intellectual elite would be in charge of making the decisions that would guide the course of the country. He needed opponents to join forces in a plan to end Adolf Hitler's life once and for all. For this, they would take the already existing Valkyrie plan, an operation that involved the mobilization and deployment of the reserve army to repress possible disturbances that could be generated by the millions of forced laborers in Germany. But the plan would be manipulated so that those troops would neutralize the faithful followers of the regime, as well as the Gestapo and the SS. The decisive element of this complex strategy had been the appointment of von Stauffenberg as chief of the General Staff of the Reserve Army. This would allow him to attend some of the private meetings called by the Führer. He was strongly determined to be the one who would kill him on July 20, 1944. That day, Hitler summoned some of the most influential military men to discuss the situation of the German army in the east. The meeting would take place in one of the underground shelters of the Wolf's Lair, a hidden bunker in a Prussian forest. But at the last minute the location was changed, and the meeting was held in a house on the surface. This puzzled Stauffenberg, since in the underground space the operating conditions would have been more favorable. The infiltrator arrived equipped with 2 briefcase bombs. He was also accompanied by Lieutenant Werner von Haeften, his assistant and his accomplice who would wait for him outside the bunker to escape in a vehicle before the bombs exploded. Stauffenberg went to a small room with the excuse of changing his shirt. Once there, he tried to arm the mechanism of 2 bombs, but under pressure, and in order not to raise suspicions due to his delay, he was only able to activate one of the artifacts. This was his first mistake. Despite the failure, the colonel decided to go ahead with the plan. The only bomb would explode in 10 minutes. Once the heated talk had begun, he placed the briefcase with the explosive on the ground, trying to stay close to the president's feet. Von Stauffenberg waited tensely until he was informed of a call that he urgently needed to attend to. Silently, he withdrew without raising any suspicion, leaving behind the 25 men, including the Führer. Once back in the main room and about to start the meeting, he asked permission to approach Hitler alleging problems in his hearing. It was exactly at 12:42 that the explosive went off. General Walter Warlimont wrote about it. In an instant, the map room became a scene of chaos and destruction. There was nothing but wounded men groaning, an acrid smell of burning, and charred fragments of maps and papers fluttering in the air. Von Stauffenberg witnessed the explosion from a distance, convinced that Hitler was dead, and went ahead with his plan. Meanwhile, the other conspirators doubted the effectiveness of the attack and made the decision to wait for the colonel's arrival before taking any action. This was the second mistake in Operation Valkyrie. Delay and hesitation caused the coup to lose steam. But the truth is that Adolf Hitler came out almost unscathed. Once the smoke from the explosion dissipated, there he was, with his hair so spiky that he looked like a hedgehog. His black pants were hanging in tatters from his belt, narrated his secretary, Trold Junge. On the other hand, Hans Deisevius, one of the conspirators, also gave his opinion regarding the president's fate. It was as if he had a guardian demon. But how did he escape death? One version says that one of the soldiers moved the briefcase and brought it closer to one of the wooden legs of the table, which would have protected Hitler's life by causing the shock wave of the explosion to go in the opposite direction. It didn't take long for all suspicions to fall on von Stauffenberg, who tried to stick with his plan at all costs. He knew his fate had already been determined and he had nothing to lose. Joseph Goebbels, in his position as Minister of Propaganda, assured that Hitler was alive, and the news spread through all the radio stations. Those involved in the conspiracy put their efforts into reversing the operation and tried to disentangle themselves from the assassination attempt. The person in charge of putting an end to the rebel uprising was Otto Ernst Remer, under direct orders from Hitler himself, who commissioned him with this mission. The leaders of the revolt were quickly identified and shot. Colonel von Stauffenberg died shouting "Long live Holy Germany!" Others, like General Beck, were given the opportunity to commit suicide, but were eventually finished off. As a direct consequence, more than 5,000 people were arrested and sentenced to death, between executions and hangings in the People's Court. Once the threat was over, Hitler returned to visit the place of the attack, now together with Benito Mussolini, to whom, among other words, he said, "Here, at my own feet, the bomb exploded." After escaping this immediate danger of death today, I am more convinced than ever that it is my destiny to carry out our great common cause. We have reached the end of this video, but before we finish we want to know your opinion. Do you think the conspiracy had any chance of success? Can you imagine a different outcome for World War II? Leave us your opinion in the comment box, and don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications to learn about many more events that left their mark on history. This was all in a new episode of Military History. Thanks for staying until the end, and we'll see you in our next video.